to my YouTube channel, and in this video we'll be looking at the difference between a for loop and a while loop. A for loop and a while loop, they actually have similar characteristics that you can actually use them to perform the same kind of computations, but they each have their use cases and the scenario that will be best for its use case. So let's create an example. Let's start with a while loop. So for a while loop, if I'm given a task to print from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5, I'll first initialize a variable. First, I'll call this variable counter and equal to 0. Now I want to print from, let's say, 1 to 5, so I'll say while counter less than 5, right? While counter less than 5, I'm now going to print counter, and I'll say counter plus equal to 1. So the counter plus equal to 1 is just saying counter equals to counter plus 1. So when I run this, so when I run this, you can see it printed from 0 down to 4. If I actually want it to be 5, I can put it the print statement, and I'll run it again, and you can see 1 to 5. So now I've just created the while loop and printed 1 to 5. Now we can do the same thing with a for loop, and the for loop is kind of easier. So I'll say for, let's say, I in range, the range will be 5. I'll print I. So very easy and short. So it prints 0 to 4. So if I want it to actually print 1 to 5, I will initialize. I'll set the beginning to 1 and the ending to 6. So 6 will be excluded, so it will print 1 to 6. So when I run, it prints 1 to 6. Now the major difference, you can see that they both do the same thing, except for the fact that the for loop is shorter than the while loop. But the while loop is the for loop is used for a finite sequence of numbers or whatever, maybe integers, is used for a finite sequence. But for a while loop can work when you don't know the end of where the loop would end. Where you don't know where the loop is going to end. So for example, you might have like I'll do this in another block. So for example, I can say while true. Now this is infinity. This is going to keep on running forever. And I can, let's say, create a command, and I'll say input. I'll just say enter command, and right now I'll say if command equal to q. If command equals to q, I'll say break, which essentially means to exit from the while loop. If not, I'll just say print, I'll say still inside of the loop. So now we don't know when this loop is going to end, but the loop will end based on when a user inputs the command q. So if I run this, you can see enter command. If I enter a, you see that still inside of loop. So it will keep on running. It will keep on running until I enter a queue and it will now exit. So that's one thing that we can use a while loop for, that one functionality that defines a while loop, but we can't use a for loop. A for loop is usually for iterables. So another thing that we can use we can also use a for loop when we want to loop through an iterable. So for example, I have a list called my list. I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So if I can loop through this list to get the individual items. So I can say for item in my list, then print my list. So now we can loop. So we can loop through my list, and you can see. Sorry, I said print my list. So it's supposed to be print item. So to get the individual item in the list. This also works for strings too. So we'll try it with strings. So let's say we have a name equals to John, and you can actually use a for loop. So for I in name, because strings are kind of like arrays too. So you can now say print I. So that's basically the major difference between a while loop and a for loop. If you learn something, please like, subscribe. I'll see you in my next video.